Hey, what up, guys? This is Ryan with Brainstorm. So changing improper fractions to mixed numbers is pretty easy, but the first thing you need to know is like what is an improper fraction and what is a mixed number? And this is what it is. So basically, an improper fraction is a fraction where the top is bigger than the bottom. So something like, 3/2. Because normally a fraction, you think of it's less than 1. In other words, the top is smaller than the bottom, like a half or a fourth. But when the top is bigger than the bottom, that's weird. So instead of calling it a weird fraction, it's an improper fraction. And a mixed number is a number where you have a whole number and a fraction both. So this is 1 and a fraction, a half. So a whole number 1 and half. And actually these two that I did, 3/2 and 1.5, are exactly equal. There's no difference at all in the value. So if I had 3/2 of a pizza, or if I had 1.5 pizzas, it's exactly the same thing. And so why do they exist? Sometimes they're written, you'd rather you see it as an improper fraction, especially when you're doing like, operations like multiplying numbers and stuff. And then sometimes you'd rather it be in a mixed number, especially if you're like speaking English to your friends. Nobody says I have 3/2 pizza. People will be like, I have 1.5 pizzas at my house. We can go eat them, right? And so what you have to get good at is switching back and forth between them. And so in this one, we're going to learn how to change from improper fractions into mixed numbers. And you can do it all day, and it's an easy process. And so here's what it looks like. Right, and so we'll actually do the one I just had, 3/2. And you know the answer, but I'll show you how you get there. So the way to get from an improper fraction, where the top is bigger than the bottom, into a mixed number, whole number and a fraction, is you take the bottom guy, the denominator, and you divide him into the numerator, the top guy. 2 into 3, right? And here's what happens. You say, well, how many times does 2 go into 3? Once, right? 2 times 1 is 2. This is normal division. You write it here and you subtract them. 3 minus 2 is 1. And so this is the remainder, right? 2 doesn't go into 1 anymore, so it's a remainder. So the answer is this guy, 1, and the remainder over the original denominator. Is that weird? So again, he went in one whole time. That's what this whole number is. And then what remains is this 1, and that always goes over the original denominator, okay? So that one is pretty mellow. We'll do like, a bunch of these so you get good at them, all right? So here's another one, right? Let's say you have 10/3. That's definitely improper. The top is definitely way bigger than the bottom, so that's weird. So again, the process is the bottom guy, the denominator, divided into the top guy, the numerator, right? Okay, let's take it slow. 3 times 2, no, it's too small. I'm trying to go 3 into 10. What about 3 times 3? That's 9. That's pretty close. Okay, good. So 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract them, and it's 1, right? Can 3 go into 1? No, so this is good. So this is a remainder, right? So 3 went into 10 3 times with a remainder of 1. So the answer is whole guy, 3, and 1, the remainder, over the original denominator, 3 and 1/3. Pretty easy. All right, let me give you a little quiz. You're getting kind of cocky. And by the way, this is the official way to go from improper fractions to mixed numbers. But a lot of people, once they get really comfortable with it, you can almost do it in your head. Look, just looking, 3 goes into 10. If I'm kind of good at doing math in my head, if you're not, don't even worry about it. But if you are kind of good, you can say, well, that definitely goes in 3 times. And then I definitely know what's left over. 1 is left over the original denominator, right? So you can maybe do these in your head, maybe not. Some are harder, some are easy. Okay, so here's a quiz. Let's do it. All right, cool. And looking at these 3, I can do them the normal way. This one I think I can just do in my head. That one I might be able to do in my head. That one looks pretty hard, right? So in my head, I think that 2 goes into 7 3 times would be 6 with 1 remainder. So I think it's 3, right? Goes in 3 whole times with a remainder of 1, 3.5. But I'm going to make sure. I just did that in my head, and that was, kind of cocky, so I'll make sure. So now I'm going to do it the long way. Bottom into the top. 2 times goes into the 7, right? Okay, 2 times what gets me close to 7? I guess, again, 3. 2 times 3 is 6. This is good. Subtract it down. That's my remainder. So again, it's the whole number, 3, and the remainder, 1, over the original denominator, 3.5. That was totally right. Okay, so this one I'm going to do the long way. It's a little weirder. Bottom into the top, 15. Looks like once is too small, 3 times is too big, so I guess 2. 2 times 7 is 14. Subtract it down, 1. Looks like my whole number, 2. My remainder over the original denominator, 2 and 1/7. Cool? All right, this one looks pretty bad. So it looks like 7 into 79. That's too hard. I can't do that. So I'm going to go like this, right? And then I'll say, well, 7 goes into 7. Remember your division, your long division. 7 goes into 7 one time. 7 times 1 is 7. subtract that 0, carry the 9. What about 7 into 9? It goes in one time. 7 times 1 is 7. Subtract that 2. That's my remainder. So now, my whole number is 11. My remainder is 2, and it stays over the original denominator, so I get 11 and 2 7s. Do you guys get the hang of that? That's how you do these. They're pretty easy. Again, some of them do in your head, some of them don't, or maybe do both just to make sure you get them right. But that's the process, and it's pretty mellow. All right, you guys, good luck in this section.